Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Lone Colony podcast. I'm your host, Repod Reptiles.
I am the radioactive octopus.
Now, David, or the Radioactive Octopus, what do you think the future of the Godzilla franchise is going to be?
Only bad, only failures.
Yes.
Nothing good is possible now.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, okay. So, Godzilla turning 70, the big 70 after many years since 54. Alright, but yeah, it's like as it's kind of surmised a bit, this is a parody of Baseless Speculation, the podcast with such riveting titles as the MCU after WandaVision, the MCU after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the MCU faces 5 and 6. Very diverse podcast, very, very diverse topics, as you could tell. Actually, I mean, we're no better. The last podcast we did was back in May for the Monsterverse retrospective, I think.
Oh right? Yeah, like our bread and butter has been like talking about King of the Monsters.
I mean, yeah, I actually wanted to do another podcast episode. I told you about this during Thanksgiving, to do a horror movie podcast as this year's Halloween special, but I came up with the idea too late, so, oh, fucking, god damn it. Fucking flies. Anyway, so, yeah.
Welcome our third co-host, a fly.
Yeah, I mean, there's usually 3 of them, but, you know. But yeah, so yeah, we're late on that, but I guess we could do this. So by the time this episode comes out, it will be November 3rd, Godzilla Day. And yeah, so yeah, cutting right to the chase. We already know about some Godzilla projects that are coming out, but I think it'd be fun if we just speculated on what they could be making and what would we like to see overall. And we're not only talking about the Monsterverse stuff, but also the potential Toho stuff that's coming out, which definitely opens the floor a bit, because Toho has always been very tight-lipped about the projects that they make. Like, you know, for the longest time, Godzilla Minus One even was just called the Showa-era monster movie produced by Toho. Before it was like finally revealed to be Godzilla.
But yeah, I think this is like the kind of film culture there. There's not as many like insider reports or leaks or what have you. Versus here, where you hear about when a movie gets canceled from being in like pre-production.
Yeah, or it gets canceled when it was practically 100% done.
Or like
off for taxes.
You hear about when a movie is like conceptualized even before it has like a title.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what happened with Godzilla 2014 too, as well. But yeah, speaking of Godzilla 2014, I guess we should probably list off all the Monsterverse stuff that's definitely coming out. So we have the new Monsterverse movie, potentially another Godzilla Kong team up, directed by the guy who made what was it? I Am Mother, the Netflix movie.
Yeah, another newbie.
Yeah.
Relative newbie?
I think so. I don't have his IMDb opened. Give me a minute. Oh my god, this fucking flies. So, the movie is being directed by... This is... Nope, that's Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire.
Look up it says the movie's called I Am Mother, right?
Yeah. Grant Sputor. Yeah.
Australian science fiction thriller film.
Yeah.
That's the okay. No, that's the movie.
Yeah, so he's directing that. So we're definitely getting another Godzilla movie, potentially Godzilla and Kong. And then you have season 2 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters that will be releasing sometime next year. And then we have the 2 Apple TV Plus spin offs of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. One of them has been confirmed to be a Kong title, and the other one we still don't know much of. Got it.
You got The Fly.
Yeah, I got The Fly. Just riveting commentary. Am I right, David?
Yeah, I wonder if he had any spicy takes on the MonsterVerse.
Well, he's not going to be giving any takes anymore, I'm afraid.
Oh,
This just in, third host of the Lone Colony podcast, The Fly, has been brutally murdered by the other co-host.
this is the first live violence podcast.
Oh no. But yeah.
I say that probably is not true at all.
Oh no. Anyways, so where else do you think the MonsterVerse might be able to potentially go? I know we talked about this in the other podcast, but I guess to give a refresher on what your thoughts were.
Yeah, in terms of the MonsterVerse, I think project that would make a lot of sense to me is to more stuff like Monarch, where it's all like where we get some prequels to like King of the Monsters and versus Kong, that kind of like the kind of in between stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like great for world building, especially like a lot of people were saying. You see a lot of people online saying after JXK, which is a really fun, insane, super over the top movie, do they go more insane over the top? Some people think that's not even possible. But some feel like, okay, let's scale it back, do some 2014 again, or stuff like that. But
Right.
it's like with the way the MonsterVerse is now, that might be difficult. I mean, like you have the monsters are so fast now.
Yeah.
Can you slow them down again and have it make sense? Adam Wingard did say it's like, oh, we only see them going fast because it's
It's through
their
their
perspective.
perspective. Yeah.
But still, it could be that could be kind of tough. But if you do prequels like what Monarch did,
Yeah.
where you know
Yeah.
have Godzilla hack who knows what city, even like if these attacks aren't mentioned in the later movies, it's like retcons. You could just kind of shimmy around that.
Yeah.
I think most people would be fine.
There was that moment where Monarch did manage to see Godzilla in, what was it? It was some desert in Monarch, but in King of the Monsters, they're like, oh, he's been missing since 2014. We've never seen him. Though I think like his sighting in that desert was kept a secret between the head director of Monarch and the field agent that managed to survive that initial reawakening.
Here's a project movie idea I think would be kind of awesome. Have it be a prequel to versus Kong in that time span where Godzilla was attacking multiple cities.
Right.
Because they say he's done it a few times, and do like a Cloverfield. Have like the movie be some characters are just trying to survive a Godzilla-based rampage where Godzilla's like making his way to like
The Apex Cybernetics labs. Yeah.
Oh, here's an idea. The characters could be scientists working for Apex Cybernetics, and they're trying to get back. It's like they're trying to get back to the lab
Yeah. Actually,
as Godzilla's going, and also in order like you could have other monsters show up. Godzilla fights the monster in the city, but we still have like it's more that human perspective.
you know what you're saying kind of reminds me about when Godzilla was going on a binge on trying to power up during Godzilla X Kong, and it's kind of implied that he didn't only attack the that Paris power plant. He was going around, so yeah, you could have something like that with Godzilla just going around, absorbing radiation, potentially fighting other monsters on the way to either absorb more or even just get them out of the way.
Yeah, so I think something like that would be pretty a pretty good project for the future.
Yeah,
In terms of more direct sequels, I think you kind of do have to keep up the mood
yeah.
of things.
Space
The
Godzilla.
only Well, that was I was gonna say. The
Oh,
only thing I feel like they could do right now is to like you do movies like JXK, like GVK, but you bring more Toho monsters, um, adapt them in the MonsterVerse. Everyone wants to see it. Everyone wants to see their favorite Toho monsters get like that, like
yeah, yeah,
Hollywood spit and shine. It worked amazingly because of King of the Monsters, right? It worked. Rodan, Mothra, King Ghidorah were all amazing,
yeah,
design wise at least. Some people hit or miss from Mothra, but everyone loves Rodan and King Ghidorah,
yeah.
so there's that route as
I
well.
mean, granted, a lot of people liked Mothra and the New Empire, so I guess in a way, yeah,
Yeah, so I guess you could just put all three.
yeah,
That combine it with bringing in more new monsters. Fumo and Scar King were pretty big hits in the base. I feel like so.
yeah,
Yeah, I will say the only thing is like I can't think of something too interesting they could do. Both of the ideas I proposed are fairly like what you'd expect. But the way the monster verse is right now, yeah, I can't imagine them going and doing something that's too crazy.
yeah. Uh, and you also mentioned how they might not be able to go back to basics with the tone that 2014 had, which is, ironically enough, the thing that people want to see more of now, even though that was kind of the criticisms of that movie is the reason why the MonsterVerse has shied away from that or moved in a completely different direction since. But
I think you could keep. Okay, sorry, you
no,
go.
I was just gonna say I think you can bring it back to that original darker tone. It's just dependent on what kind of story you're gonna tell. I mean, I'd even make an argument that Monarch Legacy of Monsters kind of proves that. But at the same time, it's at a time period where it kind of warrants for that kind of tone. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess, if they could pull off something like that for a sequel for Godzilla X Kong or an in between film for King of the Monsters and GVK.
Yeah, I mean, 2014's criticism is mostly down to its
Yeah,
pacing rather than like its tone and feel.
I mean it's sort. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah.
Well, like the main criticism is like this, how. So what people say is Godzilla doesn't have enough screen time. I think he does. The problem is that it's spaced out really unevenly.
Yeah.
Other Godzilla movies have similar amounts of Godzilla screen time, but they'll have it in like these big chunks that it lets the seed sit, so it doesn't feel like he isn't around
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Um, but also, I mean, like, it's because -1 came out recently, right? Too,
Yeah.
which is in a sense the movie we kind of thought we were gonna get with 2014's trailers. Very grim, very serious, um,
Very grounded.
but also very grounded, which 2014 is. But the main thing is with a villainous Godzilla versus 2014. Like we got something kind of different. It was interesting. It was kind of cool. Um, but yeah, just because that movie just did really well critically and
Also
became
financially.
very popular and financially,
Yeah.
yeah, also like super popular. So everyone's hey, let's do that. And people, like I said, people like GXK. I don't think people would mind. And I mean like a more mainstream audience, right?
Yeah.
Like, diehard Godzilla fans have their own takes on things, but um they could keep doing what they're doing and be all right. But
Yeah.
it also, I don't know, maybe they also think like, hey, maybe this will get stale. Let's mix it up. Let's do something more
Yeah.
serious.
Actually, to add to mixing it up a bit, not only in terms of tone, but I think in also what they could potentially introduce. I kind of challenged the idea of what else can be introduced into the MonsterVerse, because right now it's just Godzilla and Kong, and I kind of had a bit of a frightful idea earlier today, actually, where you know what would happen if the MonsterVerse gets to a point where they kind of want to move out away from Godzilla and Kong. Maybe Legendary doesn't want to pay out more licenses for the Godzilla character, or even the not sure about the Kong character, because there's like some kind of limbo with that, but I don't know. Anyways, what if they decide to just move past those characters and continue the MonsterVerse with their own original characters? Like Zuko becomes the new Kong, Shimu becomes the new Godzilla, and just try to continue it that way. Kind of like how the MCU got rid of some of its big names in Avengers Endgame, and then the new phase after that tries to introduce these like newer, younger names, and try to rebuild the MCU via that way. Do you think something like that could happen, or
I don't think so.
yeah,
I think a lot of these movies make a lot of bank because of like that name brand recognition.
yeah,
Like people want to see Godzilla for Godzilla, right? Unless they do like a Son of Godzilla sort of situation,
oh yeah, true,
like Gamera the Brave.
yeah,
But I mean, like at that point, it might as well just be like
Son of Kong,
another Godzilla. Well, no, like another. It's just Godzilla
yeah,
again, but just like he looks a little different now, right? That's
yeah.
how most people would take it.
Oh, they
Um,
they just do the things in the comics where Godzilla is Godzilla, but Dagon is Dagon.
I
this,
mean, well, first of all, something I just thought of, like that would be a great story to tell: the death of Godzilla, do the versus Destroyer. Actually, no, wait, it just clicked, right?
right?
That would be a great way to reset everything. You do your versus
Hmm.
Destroyer, Godzilla dies, and now with the next Godzilla, you could reset the tone. You could make it slower, more um serious,
And keep that
more,
tone.
and keep like the tone because it's like a new era sort of situation.
Right.
That would really that would really work. It would give Godzilla a good like the
Send
monstrous
off.
Godzilla a great like send off, close the chapter on that one. People will probably give them the new Godzilla a new nickname, what have you.
Right.
You could change the design a bit too,
Yeah.
however you want. Say nuclear radiation did things to it,
Right.
and then have him team up with Suko. Yeah, drones. There you go.
Mini babies. I'd say my only
Um,
problem with potentially introducing Destroyer, as you kind of suggested in that pitch, is Destroyer and the Monsterverse would have such little weight compared to the original character. Mainly
I'll
because
say that. Oh, sorry, you go.
no, yeah, you go. I know what I want to
Okay.
say.
I made a yeah. I actually I might have said what I meant when I said do a versus destroy. I didn't actually mean like
Oh,
versus destroy.
right. Yeah.
I just meant a movie where he dies at the end.
Yeah, but you know what? We might as well bring up that topic because everyone won't shut up about bringing Destroyer into the MonsterVerse. Well,
Yeah, and what you were saying is completely true.
yeah, like the thing about Destroyer is what made him such a powerful character is that it is the anti-Godzilla almost, where Godzilla was created by the atomic bomb, Destroyer was created from the oxygen destroyer, which was the only weapon at the time that was capable of killing Godzilla. The oxygen destroyer in the Monsterverse doesn't carry that same weight. I mean, yeah, it depowered him. It might have killed him, depending on who you ask, but it just doesn't carry that same weight. It was just the Oxygen Destroyer in King of the Monsters was just a name drop, and it could have easily been replaced with any other weapon. So, I think if you want to bring Destroyer into the Monsterverse, you kind of need to have that same weight that the original had, but you can't do that now because you they kind of pointlessly use the Oxygen Destroyer. I think had
Unless you do something,
oh, sorry.
unless you do something really crazy and interesting with it. At that point, it's just kind of Destroyer with like a Destroyer skin on a different monster, I guess.
Uh, yeah, I guess you could do that. I mean, we've seen a couple of moments in the Monsterverse where they kind of introduce vanilla, not vanilla monsters, but their own interpretations of certain monsters. Like Titanus Abaddon is basically Kumonga, giant spider. Tiamat is basically Monda, the giant sea dragon. So on and so forth. So yeah, I guess you could do the same thing. I mean, hell, Shinamura from the comics is basically a Destroyer clone, more or less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why Behemoth is like kind of the best of those because it's not just like they kind of combined two unorthodox animals. They didn't just kind of like Tiamat is like here's a long, like here's an Asian dragon.
Yeah.
And that's what Manda is.
Yeah,
Like
pretty
it's a
much.
giant spider. It's like it's just giant spider. Cthulhu spider Skila is interesting because gave it like they gave it like Cthulhu's face, and that's a bit you know evocative.
Yeah. Actually, I think
Um,
Scylla is connected to Lovecraft in the Monsterverse.
Emu feels entirely its own thing,
Yeah.
even though it's an offshoot of Godzilla. It's a great offshoot. It
Yeah.
looks very distinct. That's one of the best original monsters I've seen in quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like with Destroyer getting there, it all depends. I mean, there's still the novelty of like, hey, it's Hollywood. Destroyer is it's getting a lot of money behind it. It'll probably look pretty cool. So there's that. Like that's probably more why people want to see it.
Yeah. Right.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
there's like there's a certain monkey brained kind of nature to a lot of fandoms, let alone monster fandoms, where a big emphasis is placed on
Yeah.
how the creatures look.
Yeah, no, I know there's that. I think another thing is that Destroyer is kind of overhyped in my opinion. Um,
Ooh, you're not wrong.
I mean, yeah, the movie he comes from is great, but the monster itself. I mean, we've covered this in the tier list, even, right?
I think we put him pretty high.
I mean, in
And I
terms of
think
design, but I think he was bumped down due to how he was handled.
dying.
Yeah,
Yeah, he can't move a lot.
yeah. Also, he was taken out by
That's
the military, so yeah, there's that too.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, Suitmation is awesome.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah, my hot.
But it has its limit.
Yeah, no, yeah. My hot 2 cents on the whole future of the Monsterverse, introducing new monsters. I do find it really ironic how a lot of the monsters that people are recommending, Biollante, Space Godzilla, Destroyer, all of those monsters are brand new monsters from the Heisei era. They've never been introduced in the Showa era. That was their first outing. And those monsters are arguably what made the Heisei era so unique compared to the Showa era.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this in the MonsterVerse retrospective. I think the MonsterVerse should make its own creatures, more or less be its own thing, rather than trying to reintroduce old monsters. And yes, it is nice that some of them do end up getting adapted, like Rodan, King Ghidorah, Mothra, Mechagodzilla, and arguably make some of the better interpretations of those characters and some of the not so better interpretations of those characters, like the King of the Monsters Mothra. But I would much rather them just kind of make their own lore, make their own creatures from the ground up, and more or less be their own Heisei era rather than being the Heisei era. So
You're like, okay, two things. One, you're like 100% right. Like 100%. but two, I would mark the fuck out if Biolante showed up in one of these.
Yeah. Actually, like, no, it's not also to say that it's a bad idea. It's just, in terms of what I prefer, it's like this is the case. But also, talking about Biolante real quick, have you seen any of the fan art where Gia ends up becoming Biolante?
I have not seen that.
It's pretty gnarly stuff. Some of it is like sweet. Other times it's kind of, oh, this is actually kind of really sad. Like, she's trying to sign to Kong with her like plant tentacles. And then there was this one based on this painting. I forget what it was. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you after this. But it's all about the execution of the characters. And at the end of the day, the reason why Monsterverse Destroyer wouldn't work is because the Oxygen Destroyer has such little weight in the Monsterverse. But turning Gia into Biolante, that would carry a lot of fucking weight.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that's how I would do it, but that's a very interesting idea. It would be very evocative.
Yeah. The
I
only
wanted to
problem is how does a anthropologist go from anthropology to CRISPR and biogenetic design?
few more years at school.
Oh no, Dr. Eileen Andrews, don't do it. No.
There's another possibility that I just thought of now actually. You could do a
Yeah.
prequel series that takes place in like the prehistoric age.
Oh right, Godzilla BC.
Yeah, that's something like a lot of people have kind of brought up and I think would make easily a very just awesome movie.
If anything, I think the New Empire proves that that film could actually work. Because there's
Yeah,
been, yeah, there's like been moments in the New Empire where mainly following Kong, the the anthro character more or less, and you have these long sequences where you do understand what the monsters are communicating with each other, and yeah, I think, yeah, I think it could work now, definitely.
as a setting it would be great.
Yeah.
Um, you could do some really creative stuff with the with these huge cities and temples and even so introduce some different monsters. You could bring back King Ghidorah even if you wanted to.
Yeah, yeah. Since yeah, yeah, I actually there's another advantage of making a prequel. Maybe clear up the lore a bit because right now the Great Kaiju War that it been kind of mentioned throughout King of the Monsters to the New Empire feels like three separate events. Like I'm not sure if it's King Ghidorah that started it, or Scar King, or the Kongs and Godzillas were just decided to beef with each other one day.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's like there's a lot of details that need to be ironed out, and having a prequel film like that could help solidify a couple of details that have been kind of sprinkled throughout the films, or it might completely rewrite it, like how Monarch: Legacy of Monsters kind of rewritten the founding of Monarch and how everything was handled in the 50s. Like a lot of things in that show retcon what was established in King of the no, not King of the Monsters, Godzilla 2014.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, is there anything else you want to mention about the Monsterverse, or do you want to like move on to what Toho might be able to do?
I'll move on to Toho. I think I said all I wanted to about the MonsterVerse.
Oh wait, there's one more thing I want to mention. Oh god. So with the success of Transformers 1, do you think Legendary will take the risk of making an animated Godzilla feature?
Probably a show, maybe not a movie.
They did that with Skull Island, so yeah, maybe. That's one thing I'll definitely add. Legendary Pictures has the right idea of kind of tentacling out and giving their IP licenses to different streamers to make their own shows, and I think that's pretty cool. I hope they continue that. Maybe we'll even get streaming only movies, which would be pretty exciting. But yeah, do you think that we'll see, like we have a Skull Island anime on Netflix, and then you have Monarch Legacy of Monsters along with the spin-offs on Apple TV. Do you think Legendary Pictures will continue that kind of partnership with other streaming services like Amazon or HBO Max, as a lot of people were hoping for?
And right now, yeah,
Yeah.
I think they will.
Yeah. You think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Out
It
of
all
curiosity.
depends. It all depends. Streaming, I mean, hell, like, you know, you look at the streaming age, you look at the streaming specific shows, like, some are amazing, do really well. Some are trash and don't do well
Okay. So personally,
at
for
the
me,
end of the day.
I get that. I think for me, it's like depending on how well the show does, it's a good thing because you're kind of spreading the word out of the Monsterverse without just being confined to one streaming service, which a lot of streamers make the mistake of doing. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that Legendary is, rather than finding a comfortable place, deciding to spread out their licenses throughout the streaming world. So I think that's a good call. I think that's something that a lot more studios should be learning from, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we could talk about Toho. Good fucking lord. Took us a while, but we got there. So, I okay, so baseless speculation, like right off the bat.
Because it's on the Baseless.
I think we're gonna get a new Godzilla movie announcement this year for Godzilla Fest.
I guess the main thing is like the one question that everyone's asking: will they do a sequel to Minus One or do another solo thing? I think either's possible. I'll be honest, Minus One did incredibly well,
Yeah.
but so did Shin Godzilla.
No, yeah, like
So
yeah, I think my main argument with that is thus far a lot of the Godzilla titles have been their own self-contained stories, with the exception of the anime trilogy. But even that was just going through its own production shenanigans where that was supposed to be a series, but then they were like, we're going to adapt them into movies, and then that's what happened. But yeah, I think in terms of like I think I remember hearing it from a interview. Toho is very adamant about letting the directors do their own thing, more or less. They're very hands off. They'd much rather them uh, just make their own films, which is why Takashi Yamazaki's Godzilla Minus One is so different from Hideaki Anno's Shin Godzilla. But if someone does want to make a sequel to Godzilla Minus One, that's up to the director themselves, more or less. But yeah,
oh yeah, but I'm sure Yamazaki he's said he's had some interest, but you never know. Maybe something else will kind of catch his eye, and he'll want to do that instead. Um, I guess that's the case, right? If they won't do it, then Toho will probably be like, well, we'll make another one.
it's just yeah. I know he.
Maybe they'll. I think. I think that if they would do another one,
Yeah.
it would be new continuity, but they make it a versus film like 2014 was.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting how we haven't seen a versus movie outside of the anime trilogy, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Singular Point has fights. A
Yeah, I
lot
know,
of
but
fights.
at the same time, it's
That's
like
all.
there's a lot of things to say about Singular Point.
I was gonna say too. Actually, I wouldn't put it past Toho to try the anime thing again. Another thing people are asking: Singular Point season 2, yay or nay? I I would be interested in season 2.
Yeah.
I do feel like it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's happening just because
Uh,
of how long it.
I mean, we have seen some animes come back from the dead after years of silence. So
That is true.
I don't think season two of Singular Point is out of the cards just yet. And even
That's
so,
true.
I
Attack
think
on Titan. And
yeah, not only Attack on Titan, but even like Devil's a Part Timer. That had a very long break between its first season and its second season. Um, and there was another one, but I forget what it's called. God damn it. I'm, Very versed in anime, apparently. But anyways, yeah, it's like right now it's like season 2 of Singular Point is very hush hush among the production staff, but that again is like mainly Japanese culture. I think is it feels very tight lipped when it comes to these projects being made before they're finally announced. So
Very, yeah, super tight-lipped.
so yeah, if anything, yeah, Singular Point season 2 might be announced this year. It might be announced in 8 years from now, but we'll see, I guess. The thing about Singular Point, though, is that first season did very well in terms of critical reception in Japan, from what I've heard.
Mm.
Yeah, like it walked away with a couple of awards, so. But I'm not sure if that's enough to sway Toho in making a season 2. I don't know.
I mean, it's I like with studios, it's never critical reception only goes so far.
Right, yeah.
There are things that like didn't do well at first. Well, we say don't do well from the base numbers, but you never know how they do in home release
Yeah.
or elsewhere. But at the end of the day, investors need a return on investments.
Yeah.
That's always the number one thing.
And with that said, there.
Did it do?
Oh, sorry, you go?
I was gonna say, ironically, even if it did do well, hell, sometimes shows that do well still get cut short. It was also on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't simulcast though. It was just dumped on there when the season ended.
Yeah. No, but what I mean is like, was it a Netflix production?
Yes, I think Netflix commissioned it.
Well, Netflix has a habit of canceling shows.
Yeah, yeah. R.I.P. Skull Island season 2. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
like. But yeah, even if Netflix cancels it, Toho could easily just take it to another distributor. I mean, they just recently acquired, I think it was like G Kids, the North American distributor for a lot of anime movies.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So,
Even if we don't,
no, yeah, you go.
I was gonna say, so it's up in the air for that. But here's the question:
Yep.
if they were to do another anime project standalone, what do you think it would be like? Because Anime Trilogy and Singular
Ooh.
Points are very odd theories.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because the first two Godzilla animes are kind of similar in terms of the topics. No, not the topics that they tackle, but how they decide to handle those topics. And both of them are very sci-fi in a way. Singular Point is very heavy in terms of the science that it introduces, while also having this kind of quirkiness to it almost. Just old man McGee with his robot in the garage, and then you have the anime trilogy that uses terms every other minute that I just can't keep up with. Have you ever heard of a super oscillatory wave? I didn't, but yeah, it's like
I think you got the descriptions mixed up.
no. Super oscillatory wave was in
Anime. I know that was a joke because
Oh.
there's a lot of talk of physics and
yeah,
Singular Point, right?
yeah,
That's me scratching my head.
yeah.
But like that's the thing. That's the interesting thing. Never in 1,000 years would I. If you told me there were two Godzilla animes made by Toho, I wouldn't expect them to be like hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? Like both are very heavy on their scientific lore, and they talk a lot about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I guess like if they did another one, would it be more
Yeah.
traditional? Would it be more
No.
campy?
No, yeah, it's like the way I see it, they could go one of two ways. They could either keep to the track that they initially had and make another sci-fi heavy Godzilla anime, or they try something different this time, given the reception that both Singular Point and the anime trilogy had. So, yeah, maybe they'll do something a little bit more traditional. Maybe they'll do something a little bit more campy. Uh, Maybe they'll just make the series that a lot of people were asking for initially.
Yeah, like a Final Wars, just
Yeah.
animated.
Yeah, my only hope is it's not going to be a Monster of the Week type deal. I just do not engage with those kind of stories, as well as one season just covering a full story arc, more or less.
Right, we don't. Well, to be fair, in the modern age, the rules have kind of changed a bit. Where it's like even usually, if something starts as Monster of the Week, it
Yeah.
won't be like that for long. We're far past the days of like those animes of and cartoons of yesteryear, right?
Right.
It's still episodic stuff, but usually they try to do things more. Usually, how like they'll try to do things more interesting on the surface,
Yep.
and then there's always like some underlying plot that's being built up to
Yeah.
in the background.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of actually. I was watching Digimon Ghost Games. That's a good example. That's very much Monster of the Week. They fight a new Digimon almost every week, but there's like this whole building storyline and like a central villain and all this stuff.
Right.
Um, it's an easy format for Godzilla to fit in, but it doesn't have to be that regardless, though. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I could imagine them maybe trying to do a more action adventure series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you could have something that's like turned into almost like a mecha show.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like it's more about like they do a Mecha Godzilla and it's more about the pilots.
Oh, I have
And
like a Pacific Rim style story with. Yeah, that could work.
yeah, because it's more about the pilots and like the optics of using mechs to fight robots, to fight monsters.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting. I don't know if they do it. Mecha is a we had that Gundam series that people liked
Witch of Mercury.
last year.
Yeah, Witch of Mercury.
Yeah,
Is what you're talking about.
there's always I feel like I always hear about like the odd mecha project really kind of hitting it big,
Yeah.
but that is a genre that most people consider past its prime.
Right.
Um,
And then Pacific Rim came in and is like, hey, we're actually kind of awesome.
yeah, that's definitely part of it, and you see it even in Kaiju number 8. Doesn't have the mechs, but it's very Pacific Rim inspired.
No, yeah, for sure, for sure.
So,
Man,
I mean, I would love I would love something like Kaiju number 8 for Godzilla, something with that's very light on the tone, a very fleet-footed, I guess you could say, but
Right.
has like those kind of shonen-esque dramatics that
Wait, David, are you asking for a shonen style Godzilla?
Yes.
No, yeah, it's just remembering our conversation at Thanksgiving. Like Godzilla misses a monster with his atomic breath and accidentally blows up the moon.
Yeah, get something really over the top.
Yeah.
That's a bit more old school, though.
Yeah. Actually, like, I know we're talking about anime, but have you ever considered that Toho might take a risk of making a serialized Godzilla manga series and publish that in Shonen Jump?
I think that is possible. I can't really think of any tie-in manga series that's ever really made it big. Or was that like noteworthy? Like I hate to say it, and I'm sure there's plenty of good ones out there, but usually those are kind of tossed to the sidelines for, original works and such.
Yeah. Actually,
It would be interesting, but I hate to say it, like when it comes to the mediums that people want to see this sort of stuff in, a manga could be really cool, like really cool. But coming from something that has been in like a moving visual format, like an animated visual format, right?
for almost 70
Or
years, yeah.
yeah, like people want to see the monsters punch each other.
Yeah.
Like in front of their eyes.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think that's like one of the major disadvantages of Godzilla is just because he's been in film for over 70 years, it's kind of hard for them to kind of backtrack a bit. Even though, like, a lot of people have been asking for a Godzilla animated series or a live action series too, and we're still getting those, but at the same time, I don't know. It's hmm.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see more live action projects.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see Toho take a crack at making a Godzilla live action series?
No, I'll be honest. I don't see it. I don't see it.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think we should probably start talking about things we want to see. Um, because
It's been
I'm.
like half this video for me.
Wait, sorry.
Those are like half the stuff I've suggested.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things that I could like spitball at you.
Go nuts.
All right, so one thing that I personally really want to see is a Godzilla story that takes place in medieval times, more or less. So it could be Godzilla in like the war era of Japan, or even Godzilla in the Middle Ages, fighting King Arthur or something. Uh, I guess my only complaint with that is, well, the only problem is the human characters could only do so much to him, but he could do so much worse to them. Like, could you imagine if Godzilla was going against the Round Table? You just see King Arthur on his little horse just charging towards Godzilla, and Godzilla just looks at him and just pop, slap him with his tail or something. Uh, but it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, in those kind of stories, you're kind of forced to have Godzilla fight another monster ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we already kind of saw that with the Rage Across Time comics, and yeah, that's more or less what I've said. Yeah, Godzilla's in these very interesting periods of time that we've never seen him before, but at the same time, those characters are just incapable of doing anything, so they're kind of forced to utilize other monsters to fight against Godzilla.
Yeah. That would be cool. That would be
Yeah.
interesting.
All right. Another thing. I think we talked about this in the retrospective, but I think Toho is definitely closer to this than Legendary. Godzilla versus Gamera. Crossovers. Godzilla versus Ultraman, or things like that.
Yeah, the Gamera one is the dream project.
Yeah.
That would be great, but it feels impossible right now. I
Yeah.
hope it happens. It'll be fun to see, but
Yeah. The problem right now is Gamera isn't as established as Godzilla. I mean, back back in the day before 2014, uh, people barely talked about Godzilla, but now it feels like the conversation has opened up, and a lot of people, a lot of people are talking about him now. But that's mainly because he's more established now. He has a couple of films under his belt. Problem with Gamera is he hasn't really crossed that threshold yet. Like, yeah, we have Gamera Rebirth, and it's nice to see our Turtle Boy come back, but at the same time, he doesn't feel like he's back. So I think before we can even consider a Godzilla versus Gamera, we need to reestablish Gamera to the general audience again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which brings us to Godzilla versus Ultraman.
This is all you. I don't know dick about Ultraman.
I mean, I just started like dabbling in Ultraman. I haven't taken a full dive in yet. I will soon, but yeah, I'd say yeah. Out of the two, Ultraman versus Godzilla is more likely than anything. But at the same time, whether uh, Subaraya Productions and Toho will be willing to collaborate on a project like that, I don't know. Just it has yet to be seen.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I that's ah. I really want to see these crossovers happen, but whether the studios are willing to take a risk, that's the real question, I guess.
Yeah.
I know Daiei, before they were conglomerated into Katakawa. Sorry, not conglomerated, bought out by Katakawa. Um, they actually approached Toho to make a Godzilla versus Gamera movie, but that ended up being Gamera the Brave. We were so close to greatness. We were this close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, one final topic, and I think we'll just call it after that. Do you think it's likely, assuming Toho didn't put anything in the clause to prevent them from doing this, do you think Toho could potentially sell out another Godzilla license to another studio and have them make their own interpretation of Godzilla? Ooh.
I don't think so. No. Okay. Okay. If Legendary doesn't lose the license, then like no. I think they're like think about how they already have a deal to like split their film releases with Legendary, so like they don't overtake each other. Three studios and managing and like
Yeah.
quarterly releases on the investor expectations. 100% no.
Yeah.
Um, if Legendary lost the license, then maybe they'll take a risk with someone else.
Yeah.
But as it is, no way.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, if Legendary did lose the license, who would you want to see potentially make international Godzilla movies? Like, it's an open field. You got Paramount on one side, you got Universal on the other. Warner Bros. I'm not touching for with a 10-foot pole with how they've been treating some of their projects recently. Blumhouse. I don't think.
Oh God, I'll be honest. I don't know. I think we kind of lucked out with the MonsterVerse
Yeah.
being with Legendary Studios, and they kind of.
Ooh, I know. TriStar has another shot at it. Yeah.
Hey, we could get no. If we get it to DC, maybe James Gunn could get his hands on it.
No,
Then
that's Warner Bros.
We
Though.
get a film.
David, that's Warner Bros.
Yeah, but imagine we get a live action version of that Justice League versus Godzilla comic.
Yeah.
You can fight Starro.
Oh, actually, it's so funny how we decide today of all days to do this because they just announced a sequel to Godzilla, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
There you go.
Yeah.
It all. Yeah. I have no. I have no clue. Who would I give it to? I mean, like, because if no matter who you give it to, I feel like it's almost like a toss up.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you go, at the end of the day, it's just hoping that the right people get on the project, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's always been the case.
Every studio has like a fucking avalanche of hit or misses. And some go through peaks and valleys, but it's always a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
I mean, how like Legendary was under Warner Brothers when the MonsterVerse started, right? Like,
yeah.
But they're not though. The MonsterVerse movies, are they still Warner Brothers properties or?
They're Warner Bros. Has distribution rights, but no, they don't have any. They don't have too much creative control over the movies. It's more or less Legendary makes the movies, Warner Bros. Puts those movies into theaters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anyone you'd want to see have the license?
I guess Paramount seems to be the only good option if Legendary does lose the license.
Maybe.
Like sure, the way they handle Transformers is kind of hit or miss, but at the same time, I feel like they have the necessary resources and I guess the guts to take risks with some of the projects that they've made. So yeah. I mean, hell, Transformers 1 was a hit. They marketed it poorly, but it was a hit.
Well, critical hit. It's doing pretty fucking badly financially, actually.
Hence why I said it did really poorly in terms of advertising, baby.
Right. Okay, that's what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they could make but that's the thing, right? It's like any of these studios could make a good. They have their good and bad movies, really.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and whether they market it or not, probably not. Who fucking knows? Like.
Yeah. However, with that being said, it would be kind of full circle if Universal gets their hands on the license potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god, you have like Fast and Furious style action with animation and animatronics from Jurassic Park. Oh my god.
We'll do a crossover with Fast and the Furious, Godzilla versus family.
Hell yeah, brother. Vin Diesel and everybody just get into a mech made out of cars. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, on that note, I'm Repod Reptiles.
And I am the family man.
And this has been another episode of the TheLonecolony podcast. We'll see you all next time.
Bye.